Remember to MondoCoolBusiness the like and subscribe buttons before never thinking about one ever again, but keep having to wish the other back. Shout out to Neon CG for finding Master Roshi's stone in the last video. If you want a shout out in the next, all you have to do is find out where he hid it in this video and comment the timestamp where that is. Today is going to be a bit different than most days. Since my usual format prevents me from talking about shorter stories and one-shots, we're going to slow things down a bit here. What if Gohan turned Super Saiyan on Namek is a topic covered many times on YouTube, as it leaves open vast possibilities from a lore and writer's perspective. Where would this put him in the series going forward? Does this mean it would be best for Goku to take more of a supporting role to boost his own son? Would this influence him to further pursue strength despite his disdain for battle? Or what I think, would Gohan do nothing but assure his own trip to another dimension? I'm not saying these are by any means the best ideas, but after watching every arc forwards, backwards, 4x3, 16x9, and for some reason once in 1x1 on bootleg, I'm not sure why, just accepted it, but just several times over the course of 20+ years, I at least find different ideas interesting even if they do slightly conflict with personality traits or make you have to bend the logic from the established lore a bit. But anyway, Kris and Shoury's version of this theory begins during the battle against Frieza. While proving promising at first, Piccolo is slowly being picked apart by the tyrant who has just entered his third form, screaming for him to stop. He catches a swipe right across the face. But what was that immense aura? This blow, though not exactly a haymaker, stuns the Emperor enough he has to halt his attack. He takes a moment to see if he's bleeding. Not wasting any time, Gohan carefully guides his mentor to the ground, taking extra special care not to cause any additional damage. Quietly placing him in front of Dende, who has been patiently waiting on standby. The young Namekian hastily gets to work, calling out in his native tongue before healing him. Though, the ceasefire doesn't last but mere moments. Darting his head around, Frieza almost immediately spots the gang, scowling to know which one of those simpletons is the one who hit him. First believing it must have been Vegeta, but he's much too busy cowering in fear. Then surely it was the Namekian he's been facing. He must have gotten in a strike through his barrage of ki attacks. But that is surely impossible as well. Speaking of whom, thanks to Dende, he's good as new. Piccolo appears to hardly believe it himself. But most importantly, the helplessness of his teacher and first friend outside his immediate family caused the young Gohan to tap into a hidden potential not seen in nearly 1,000 years, becoming the very thing Frieza most fears, the legendary Super Saiyan. Well, undoubtedly, some part of the prince is happy to have such a warrior on his side. He can't believe that brat is the one who transcended the state. However, his less than inconspicuous manner of expressing this catches the attention of their enemy, who in turn glances over to see the golden-haired fighter himself. Whether in denial or merely playing it safe, he grumbles, not again with this ridiculous fairy tale, as he concentrates his power to transform further. Though you have to know what frantic thoughts must be going through his head to so abruptly make such a decision. His energy sends shockwaves through the surrounding area, before unfortunately, Vegeta struck down in a surprise attack. Even Gohan can't believe it. Through the smoke, the Emperor patiently waits for the debris to clear so as to make a dramatic entrance. Despite his immense power-up from training in Otherworld and fusing with Nail, Piccolo couldn't so much as see that last attack. Krillin is the first to lay eyes on the monster's newest form. Though much less intimidating in appearance than the others, there is little confusion which is really the most fearsome. But this does nothing to deter Gohan from attacking head-on.
Gohan, behind you!
Landing a single slap, the boy is sent flying into the dirt, falling out of his Super Saiyan form. While it may be a powerful state, it can only go so far in the hands of a novice. Not to mention, some of the most optimistic predictions for Super Saiyan Gohan at this point in the story put his power around 10 million, still registering far below Frieza, who's estimated to be about 60 million in his final form. But this is something we'll get to a bit later. Right on time, Goku rushes to the scene. The tyrant scoffs in a spat of frustration that another stupid monkey has decided to show up, sarcastically asking just how many are there. Though getting an extended look at his face, he feels a sense of familiarity with this one, experiencing deja vu they've met once long ago. Exchanging few words, Goku calls out to Piccolo to see if he's ready. The Namekian jostles like he even has a choice, before informing his ally not to worry about Gohan, as Krillin and Dende are taking care of him at this very moment. Letting out his iconic laugh, Frieza chortles he sees it's 2 against 1. In other world, King Kai cautions the others the end is surely near. Lamenting, he warned them to stay away from Frieza by any means necessary. Alas, they did not heed his advice, and now it's too late. Further specifying even with Piccolo, Goku stands no chance. Coming to a shock to Tien, who is also unaware just how powerful the Emperor is. Even Yamcha feels uncharacteristically helpless in the situation, not only terrified for the lives of his friends, but if they fail on Namek, there is little hope to ever get wished back. Shouting to his friends they're counting on him. But for whatever reason, the Kaio keeps one bit of information to himself. Able to see Dende has safely reached the injured Gohan. They may have a chance after all. Piccolo is able to buy a few precious seconds by delivering a powerful kick that sends Frieza soaring. He bellows for Goku to hurry up with a spirit bomb already. And ironically, he hadn't even thought of that. Smiling, it sounds like a good idea. Raising his hands to the sky. It doesn't take long before it's ready. Piccolo able to keep the tyrant busy in the meantime, just as he's preparing to fire it away. Frieza lands a devastating kick of his own, hissing he won't let him. Though, there seems something off about the ball's reflection in the water. Turning his head up to see what's going on now, Gohan centers himself in the spirit bomb itself. Its energy begins to encompass him, as his eyes are lost in an immense rage. Piccolo explains he absorbed the energy of the spirit bomb itself. With this, not only does he have his usual Super Saiyan strength, but the power Goku just gathered. He shakes his head laughing that little one will always surprise him. However, Frieza is much less optimistic than our heroes. Giving it everything he's got, the young Saiyan knows it's now or never. Try as he might to hold off the blast, the combination of being caught off guard, in addition to Gohan's power-up, and not to mention the spirit bomb itself. Frieza can only scream he can't lose to a slug and pair of monkeys. And unlike the story we know where the tyrant would get back up, this time he's gone for real. Finally able to get a peaceful moment with the son, Goku comments how he has become a true legend. He's even stronger than himself now. Piccolo also takes the moment to praise the child, complimenting a job well done, and thanks to him, Namek is safe. With Vegeta the only casualty, the Z-Fighters can take their time finishing business on this foreign world before heading home. Luckily, they have a spaceship that just so happens to be perfectly intact. As they gain their bearings to prepare for what they need to do, they can't shake the lingering feeling they may have forgotten something. Again, this is What If Gohan Was the First to Turn Super Saiyan by
Kris and Shoury.
Of course, I read a lot of manga here, but I never analyze or really give my opinions on many, so since we have the extra time, I just wanted to go over my own thoughts. My biggest rule with Dragon Ball fan manga is that it doesn't have to be the definitive version of the story it's telling. For example, Young Gigi has a Dragon Ball AF and so does Toyotaro. I enjoy both and have praise and criticism for both, so if you have a creator that made a story like this already that you passionately love, that's cool. Except for this one. Don't watch this one. I just recommend you try to enjoy it for what it is. You know, if that's not your thing, I don't know, I don't care, just like what you like, I guess. With this story, it's clear to me all the creators wanted to do is make a quick, fun one-off. If you wanted to flesh it out, I'm sure you could make it more comprehensive. Personally, my first thought when I think of Gohan going Super Saiyan against Frieza, as I said in the intro, he'd probably just get killed. He's definitely not strong enough to pose a real threat, and with Frieza's fearful Super Saiyan complex, I think he'd freak out and slaughter everyone as soon as he saw the golden hair. But there's nothing wrong with a feel-good fanfiction-y story like this either. Now, truth be told, I think Gohan being the first to go Super Saiyan in general isn't the best idea for anything other than a spin-off like this, or for a What If series on YouTube, simply because it radiates the young hero secretly as the chosen savior cliche. I think even Team 4-Star makes a joke about this when he's fighting third form Frieza. But for a series I know very well and can't get tired of, it's sometimes kind of fun to explore tropes like this. As far as his trigger goes, at first I wasn't sure how much I liked it being when Piccolo was getting his glue box slapped around, but then I remembered there probably isn't really another appropriate moment for the transformation to happen, unless maybe when Dende dies. But personally, I still just don't feel it really works. Naturally, I think Vegeta's reaction to a child becoming the first Super Saiyan in eons would be priceless. Unfortunately, I don't think that was the tone the authors were going for. The first real scruff with Super Saiyan Gohan and Frieza went about as I thought it should, with the initial underestimation of the kid before getting squashed like a bug. Which brings me to my point about the power level thing earlier. To close, I've pretty much hated the idea, or maybe just the implementation, of power levels for the better part of 12 years or so. Not that I think it's a horrible concept, it works great in some situations, but it's where I feel Dragon Ball shifted from being a skill-based fighter to an old-school RPG. In a game like Street Fighter, you may be vastly outmatched by your opponent, but there is at least always a chance you can win. Where in an RPG, let's say Pokemon Red, generally speaking, a level 22 Bellsprout is never going to defeat my level 81 Charizard. I may explain this further in the future, but the short version is most villains from Frieza onward, the heroes almost always seem to need a huge power boost in order to be competitive. The power and invulnerability gap is just far too wide. But for the sake of me not jumping off a tall building tonight, I don't even want to debate power levels. I figured both Frieza and Gohan's from the Dragon Ball Wiki, and they got theirs from Daijinsu 7 and V-Jump, and that's good enough for me. But I hope you guys enjoyed this different video today. Let me know if you made it to the end of this video, and I'll catch you next time.